Hello, my name is Saint Zita. I was born in 1218, the beginning of the 13th century, in a village near Lucca, Italy. My family was very poor, but my parents raised me in a Christian, loving way. Most poor families send their kids to trustworthy families who could afford servants. They would live with the family for a few years and send the money they earned back home to their parents. I lived with the Farinelli family when I was only 12 years old. I was happy to live with the Farinelli family. I would get up really early to do my work so I could go to daily mass. I was a really hard worker, so the other workers would get annoyed. They'd always bully me or pick on me. When one of the workers tried to kiss me, I fought him off and left several scratches on his face when he left the room. Mr. Farinelli questioned me, but I was honest and told him the truth. Since then, people stopped picking on me. In fact, they tried to be just like me. I was happy with the Farinelli family. I ended up living with them for the rest of my life. And one time, when I wanted to give bread to the poor, I hid the bread under my cloak. To save me from a rebuke, the Lord worked a small miracle for me. When I opened my cloak, all that came out was a big pile of flowers. When I safely returned, the flowers turned back into bread. I died a while after that in 1271 at the age 60. I was canonized by Pope Innocent XII in 1696. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
I am St. Rose of Lima. I was born in Lima, Peru in 1586. My feast day is August 23rd. I'm the patron saint of the Philippines. When I was born, my parents gave me the name Isabel, but because it's such a beautiful baby, they called me Rose. My life struggles were that my family was very poor, so I worked in the garden all day and sewed at night to earn money. With the money I earned, I helped my family and also bought food for the needy people in my community. In my parents' home, thanks to my brother, I set up one room as a free medical clinic for poor children and elderly people who were ill. I believe that when we serve the poor and sick, we serve Jesus. I wanted to enter the convent, but my parents wanted me to marry. I love Jesus so much that when I talked about him, my eyes would sparkle. I like to wear a heavy crown made of silver with small spikes on the inside, as Jesus Christ did. I practice very intense prayer and penance daily. Sometimes I deprive myself of food and sleep. My miracles were amazing as I cured a man of the disease of leprosy. During my last years of life, I cared for homeless children and elderly people who were sick. When I was dying, I prayed, Lord, increase my suffering. I died in 1617 in Lima, Peru. I was a much-loved woman everywhere in my country. This is the story of my life.
Hello, my name is Blessed Teresa of Calcutta. I was born on August 26, 1910 in Albania, India. When I was a girl, I lived in one house out of the two houses my dad built. When I was 8 years old, my dad died. He died because he was very ill, and nobody knew why he was ill, and he got sick. I suddenly thought it as a catastrophe. Then my family had no one to protect them, so I went to a convent-run primary school. And when I was a little girl, I sang in the choir, and I usually sang solos. Then when I was 12 years old, I felt a calling to live a religious life. 6 years later, at 18 years old, I decided to become a nun. So when I did, I went to Ireland and joined the Loreto Sisters of Dublin. Then a year later, I traveled to Darjeeling, India, for the Navatate period. Then, in May 1931, I made the first ever profession of vows. After that, I taught at St. Mary's High School. On September 10, 1946, I felt Christ speaking to me, and he told me to abandon teaching school and to work aiding the city's poorest and sickest people. In 1950, I was able to start the Missions of Charity, dedicating to the to do the corporal works of mercy, and I also built a hospice for the poor or people who are suffering. I taught the children of the poor to read using a book and to write writing on the dirt with a stick. In 1979, I won the Nobel Peace Prize, but I didn't take the banquet. Instead, I wanted the $192,000 for the poor people in India. I died on September 5th. While I was in India, I performed a miracle. I performed a miracle to a woman, and I healed a tumor in her abdomen. I am the patron saint of World Youth Day, and my feast day is September 5th. I wore a white sari and sandals mostly because I was from India. One of my quotes was, "Keep the joy of loving God in your heart and share this joy with all you meet, especially your family." God bless you, and thank you for hearing my saint's story.
Hi, my name is St. John the 23rd. I was born in 1881. When I was young, I grew up on a farm in Italy. I was the firstborn son of a farming family. My real name was Anselm. I was 12 years old when I went to the seminary. I had a full career as a seminary teacher. I first became a priest, then a cardinal, and finally a pope. In 1925, I became a papal diplomat, serving first in Bulgaria, then Turkey, and finally in France. I was almost 77 years old when I was elected Pope. I was Pope less than 5 years. When I was Pope, I broke the traditions. I went outside the Vatican and visited people. When I found out one of my Vatican employee workers' salary, I gave him a raise. I gave raises to people who had a lot of children. When I was getting older, I called all the bishops for a special church council. It was called the Second Vatican. We were deciding on if they would keep the church going when I died. I believe that the church can lead the whole world, not just the Catholics. I died in 1963. My feast day is October 11th. I became a saint by calling the Second Vatican. I'm the patron saint of Christian unity.
Hello, my name is St. Maximilian Kloh. I was born in Poland, January 7th, 1894. I was baptized by Pope John Paul I. When I was a teenager, I joined the Franciscans and got the name Maximilian. When I became a priest, I added Mary to my name. I thought that people should know about Mary because the world is full of sins. So I made a newspaper called the Night of Immaculate. I built a center in Poland, in Japan, and in India, where I fed the homeless. In 1938, NASA invaded. Then NASA arrested me. One day, a prisoner escaped, so the guard picked 10 men and punished them. I offered myself instead of a guy who had a family. They gave no food to the 10 men, and they died. Then they burned the bodies. I was canonized on October 10th, 1982. My feast day is August 14th.
Hello everyone, my name is St. Augustine. I was born in 354. I was a bad kid, a really bad one. Even though I was born in a Christian home, I led an evil life for 13 years. My mom prayed for me, and she prayed and she prayed and she prayed. It finally worked. I was praying in the garden, and I heard a little girl said, "Take up and read." So I did. I found a Bible, and I Open up to St. Paul, chapter 13, the letters to the Romans. It said, don't live a bad life, live like Jesus. So I did. I became baptized. I became a priest. I became bishop in Africa. I care for my Christians because I care for the poor, I care for the sick, and I care for those who are in prison. Though my feast, I died in a high fever, and the feast day when I died was 430 and August 28th. Thank you.
Hi, my name is St. John Paul II. I was born in Waterloo, Poland in 1920, May 18th. I was the third born out of my siblings. When I was 9 years old, I received First Holy Communion. And when I was 18 years old, I received Confirmation. Before I was 21, I lost my mom, dad, and older brother. When I was in college, the Nazis closed the university, so I got a job at a factory. Soon after I joined the job in the factory, I began getting the feeling that I should enter the priesthood. I was ordained into the priesthood November 1st, 1946. On July 4th, I became Bishop of Krakow, and on January 13th, 1964, I became Archbishop. On October 22nd, 1978, my papal ministry began. I was the first non-Italian pope in 455 years to be elected. I was an advocate for human rights and to help bring about political change in our world. I began World Youth Day and it attracted many young people. No pope met as many young people as I did. In 1981, an assassin shot me twice. Later, I forgave him. In the last couple of years of my life, I suffered from Parkinson's disease, which stopped me from doing activities I enjoyed. I died April 2nd, 2005. I was beatified by Pope Benedict XVI on May 1st, 2011. One of my miracles was that a nun suffering with Parkinson's disease prayed to me and was cured. I was canonized in 2014 by Pope Francis with Pope John the 23rd. The quote to leave you with today: true joy is a victory, something that cannot be obtained without a long, hard, difficult struggle. Thank you.
Hello, my name is St. Anselm. I was born in 1033 in Aosta, Piedmont, Italy. My parents were very wealthy when I was born. When I was a boy, I wanted to be a priest, but my father introduced me to court life. With few responsibilities, this made me forget about being a priest. At a young age, my mother became sick, and soon after, she died. She left an impression that will last my entire life on me. When I was 15, I tried to join the monastery, but my father would not let me. I would argue with my father until I ran away to France. There, I decided to become a Benedictine monk at age 27. I was very close with my brother monks. I had to leave back to become Archbishop of Canterbury in England. Before I left, I told my brother monks that they would always live on in my heart. The people in England loved and respected me, but King William II treated me terribly. I had to leave the country and flee from exile in 1097 and again in 1103. King William II even refused to let me go to Rome for advice from the Pope, but I still went. I stayed with the Pope until King William II died. I then returned to my parish in England, where I was the first in the church to oppose the slave trade. I had many duties, but always found time to write important books about philosophy and theology. I also wrote down the important instructions I had given to my brother monks. I wrote 475 letters 475 letters gave me spiritual direction in my lifetime. I was declared a great teacher and doctor of the church. I lived in Italy, France, and England in my lifetime. I died in 1109 on April 21st. I was canonized in 1492 by Pope Alexander IV. My feast day is April 21st.
My name is St. Clare of Assisi. I was born in Assisi, Italy on July 16, 1194. My mom was praying for me every day. One day she heard a voice saying, "Woman, do not worry. You will have a daughter, and by her life she will bring God's light into the world." As a child, I prayed a lot. I watched out for the poor. I gave them my food, even if I went hungry myself. If I did something wrong, I did penance immediately, so Jesus would be happy with me again. When I was 18, I heard St. Francis preach. I wanted to do exactly what he teaches about. My heart burned to do exactly what he teaches about. My mom and my dad encouraged me to get married before I turned 20. I refused, and instead I secretly went away to help the nuns and give them my food. Soon I became a nun myself. I cut off all my hair and made a group called the Poor Clares. According to our name, we never ate meat. We wore no shoes, but we were happy because we could pray every day. Soon my 15-year-old sister Agnes joined us. One day, an army of cruel soldiers planned to attack Assisi. They attacked the convent first. Although I was very sick, I asked to be carried to the window, where I placed the Blessed Sacrament right where the soldiers could see it. Then I knelt down on my knees and prayed to save the nuns. "Oh Lord, protect these nuns who I cannot save right now." A voice seemed to say, "I will keep them in my care." Suddenly, a great fear came over the soldiers, and they ran away as fast as they could. When I was 37 years old, I got very sick and couldn't walk. I lived like that for 29 years. I died on August 11th, 1253, in Assisi, Italy. That's my feast day, August 11th. I'm the patron saint of laundry, telephones, and television. I was canonized a saint on September 26, 1255, by Pope Alexander VI. My major shrine is Basilica of St. Clare of Assisi. God bless you and have a great day.
Hello, my name is St. Catherine Drexel. I was born on November 26, 1858 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to a very rich family. My mother died 1 month after I was born. My father remarried a lady named Emma, and I gained 2 sisters named Louise and Elizabeth. I received an excellent education. I was taught to love my neighbors and be especially concerned about the poor. My stepmother became ill with cancer, and I nursed her for 3 years until she died in 1883. In 1889, I became a nun and took the name Sister Mary Catherine. Then, after visiting the western part of the United States, I became concerned about Native Americans. Soon after, while on tour of Europe, I met Pope Leo XIII and asked him to send more missionaries to the western part. The Pope asked, "Why not be a missionary yourself, my child?" Then, soon after, I traveled to South Dakota at 33 and made my vows as the first sister of the Blessed Sacrament. I dedicated my life to sharing the gospel and the life of the Eucharist among Native Americans and African Americans. I spent my life and millions of dollars on my work. In the end, I established 50 missionaries in 16 states. My greatest educational achievement was founding Xavier University in New Orleans, the first university for African Americans in the United States. I had a heart attack in 1935 at the age of 77. I died on March 3rd, 1955 in Bentham Township, Pennsylvania. I am the patron of philanthropists and racial justice. In 1974, a boy named Robert Gunterman suffered a severe ear infection that destroyed the 3 bones that you need for hearing. His family then began praying to me. Then, after an unsuccessful surgery, the doctors found that not only had the bones been restored, but he was able to hear. Then Amy Wall was born in 1992 with the nerve deafness in both ears that was considered incurable. Her family heard the story about Robert Gunterman and started praying to me. In March of 1994, a preschool teacher noticed a change in Amy's responses, and the girl was given new hearing tests. They found that she had normal hearing. Because of these miracles, I was declared a saint. I was canonized in 2000 by Pope John Paul II. My feast day is March 3rd.
Hello, my name is St. Thomas Aquinas. I was born in 1225 in Ricastica, Italy. I was from a very wealthy family. When I was young, I thought a lot about God. He fascinated me. When I was 5 years old, my parents sent me to Benedictine Monastery at Monte Cassino. Later, I attended the University of Naples. There, I came into contact with a group of Dominicans. I was fascinated in their lifestyle of prayer and studies. My family did not want me to join the order, so my brother kidnapped me. I was held at the family castle for over a year. Finally, they gave up, and I joined the order. During my years with them, I taught people about Jesus, wrote about him, and studied him as much as I could. I have never forgotten anything I read. I once dictated to 4 different people about 4 different things. Once when I was praying, God spoke to me. He said, "You have written well for me. What do you want in return?" I replied, "I want nothing but you, O Lord." I was a great writer. I wrote about God until he said to stop on December 6, 1273. I studied under St. Albert the Great. I was most famous for a book called Summa Theologica. I died on the way to see Pope Gregory in the Council of the Lions in France. I died in 1275. I was only 49 when I passed away. My feast day is January 18th. I was named the patron saint of Catholic schools, and I was canonized in 1323 in Aganon, France. I hope you enjoyed the story of my life. This is St. Thomas Aquinas, saying bye.
Hello, my name is St. Francis Cabrini. I was born on July 5th, 1850, in the village of St. Angela in Italy. I am the 13th child. I was born 2 months premature. My mother was 52 when I was born. Just before I was born, a flock of white doves circled my house. I was small and weak as a child. My sister Rosa took care of me because my mother had so many cares. I was always a happy child. I loved to hear my father's stories about the missionaries. I started to dream of becoming a missionary in China. As a young girl, I attended the Daughters of Sacred Heart School. At age 18, I graduated at the top of my class and received a teacher's certificate. I hoped to one day be sent to China. I wanted to teach and do missionary work there, but my fragile health stopped me from traveling to China. There was an outbreak of smallpox in my village. My parents both died from smallpox. I was also struck with smallpox. My sister Rosa nursed me back to health. When I was 24 years old, Father Serrati put me in charge of an orphanage in a nearby town in Italy. The orphanage was poorly run, and Father Serrati sent me there to make things right. I was devoted to the young girls in the orphanage. I took my vows to become a nun, and eventually I became Mother Superior of the orphanage. I went on to open another school and orphanage in Cadagno. There I started the Missionary Sisters of Sacred Heart. Several of the orphan girls joined my group. I went to Rome to get approval of my orders from Pope Leo XIII. He gave me approval and sent me to New York City. I arrived in New York City in 1889 with 6 other sisters. I was sent to help the immigrants. The immigrants suffered greatly. Many lived in overcrowded cities which were dirty and full of disease. Many worked very long hours and their children were left alone all day. I found many children whose parents had died. Shortly after I arrived, I opened an orphanage in New York City. I once restored a newborn baby's eyesight. One of my fellow sisters was very sick and given a day to live. After praying to me, she went on to live for another 20 years. I went on to open over 67 schools, hospitals, and orphanages all around the world. My sisters and I would have to beg for anything that could be spared. I put my complete trust in God. Sometimes I received money as a gift. Sometimes it would appear in my drawer or even in my pocket. I was a foster mother to thousands of children. I spent my life finding shelter for the poor, food for the hungry, and gave love and compassion to the unwanted. In 1909, I became a citizen of the United States. On December 1917, I was preparing for a Christmas party for the children in one of my orphanages. I suffered of a heart attack and died. I was canonized on July 7, 1946, at St. Petersburg in Rome. I was the first American to become canonized. I am the patron saint of immigrants. My feast day is celebrated on November 13th.
Hi, my name is Saint Elizabeth of Hungary. I was the daughter of the King of Hungary. I was born in 1207 at Pressburg, Hungary. I got married at the age of 14 to Louis, a German prince. And we had 3 children. I was married for 6 years to Louis. He was my best friend. I was very sad when he died. Then, when I was married to Louis, his parents hated me because I helped the poor and the hungry. When Louis died, his parents kicked me and my children out of the palace. I and my children found a pig barn and stayed there. My uncle, a bishop, helped us. Eventually, I got my throne back. I built hospitals and orphanages for the poor and the sick. My feast day was November 17th. I was 24 when I died, and I was the patron saint of hospitals, nurses, dying children, and the sick. God bless you all.
My name is St. Rose Philippinian Deshane. I was born on August 29, 1769, to a wealthy family in Grenoble, France. When I was a young girl, a missionary used to come and visit my home. He would tell exciting stories about Native Americans. I was so interested and hoped that someday I could help these people. I became a visitation sister with the French Revolution forced my community to close, so I returned home and continued to care for the poor, visit the prisoners, and teach children. In 1802, I joined a new community of Sisters of the Sacred Heart. I became a missionary and I was on my way to America. I was excited to do God's works. The 4 sisters and I spent 11 weeks crossing the ocean and 7 weeks crossing the Mississippi. These were difficult journeys. I nearly died from yellow fever. I arrived in Sugar Creek, Kansas at the age of 72 and founded the first Catholic Indian school. I was in poor health. I tried learning the Native Americans' language, but it was too hard. So while the other sisters taught, I prayed. The native children named me Woman Who Prays Always. I died in 1852 at the age of 83. Please remember a quote of mine, "He who has Jesus has everything." I was canonized by Pope John Paul II in 1988. My feast day is November 18th. I'm the patron saint of praying. Thank you and have a blessed day.
My name is St. Andre Bissett. I was born in 1845 near Montreal, Canada. My health was so bad that my parents had to baptize me right away. My dad was a lumberman. He died when I was 9 because a tree fell on him. I missed him a lot. My mom was left to take care of us 10 children. I was the 8th out of 10 children. My mom died 3 years later when I was 12. I was forced to live with my uncle. Unfortunately, instead of being educated, I had to work, but it was hard for me to keep a job because I was sick. So I spent most of my time praying. And when I was 20, I moved to the United States to work in a factory that made clothes. I missed Canada so much, so after 5 years, I moved back to Canada when I was 25. I joined the Congregation of the Holy Cross. I was the maintenance man for 40 years. Then I became a doorkeeper at Notre Dame College. I went to sick people's houses, and I rubbed the lamp oil on their palms and the foreheads. Many people were healed because I prayed to St. Joseph. St. Joseph was my favorite saint. I prayed to him every day. My dream was to build a church in honor of him. My dream came true. Before I died, in January 6, 1936, the church was being built. I was canonized May 23rd, 1982 by Pope John Paul II. On October 17th, the Pope finally declared sainthood for me. My feast day is January 6th. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Hello, my name is St. Lucy. I was born in Sylacause in the year 284. I had a mother and father who were very rich. My father died when I was a young girl, and I offered my life to God also when I was young. My mother, Eutychia, begged me to marry a young pagan man named Pasicus, and I held off for 3 years. My mother was suffering from hemorrhages, and we went to St. Agatha's shrine and prayed all night. And an angel came to me in a dream and said that my mother was healed. Pasicus was very mad that he lost me, and he reported me for being a Christian. I was taken to the government, and they tortured me, and they put fire on me, and tried to kill me, and I said God will protect me, and nothing happened. I had beautiful eyes, and I had to lose them. I died in 304 at age 20. My major shrine is San Grivma Vinci, and God restored my eyes. My feast day is on December 13th and is celebrated during the season of Advent. I am the patron saint of the blind, martyrs, salesmen, and throat infections. I was not canonized because at that time I was alive. They did not have canonization. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Hello, I'm Saint Gianna Paratamala. I was born in Mercantil, Italy on October 4th, 1922. I have 12 brothers and sisters, but only 9 had survived to adulthood. I lost my special sister Amelia, which made me learn life is fragile and precious. I saw terrible war take over my country. People were hurt and killed under the leader Mussolini. But I didn't let badness in the world separate me from God. I continued in my life even in hardship, always following God. I suffered my parents' death in 1942. They died within months. I became a doctor who helped take care of the poor who were sick. I accepted both good and bad with an open heart. I married Pietro Mala in 1955. I became a mother and had 4 children. I suffered 2 miscarriages. I also developed a tumor while I was pregnant with my 4th child, which forced me to choose between my life or my baby's life. Out of everything, I wanted to save my baby. I had my baby on April 21st, 1962. Good Friday of that year. I died 7 days after on April 28, 1962, which is also my feast day. I knew life was a gift from God. My children's names are Pierre Luigi, born in 1956, Maria Zita, born in 1957, Laura, born in 1959, and Gianna Emanuel, born in 1962. In my lifetime, I did a lot of charity work. I was a member of the Catholic Action. I didn't want to judge the poor. I wanted to help the poor by taking care of them and helping them get better. I'm the patron saint of mothers, physicians, and unborn children. I was always doing things for others. I had a prayerful life. My life was tough, but I always wanted to help the people around me. I'm Saint Gianna Paratamala, and that's my life story.
Hi, I'm St. Marianne Cope. I was born in Germany on January 23rd, 1838. My full name is Maria Ann Barbara Cope. I moved to the United States when I was 1 year old and lived in New York. I went to a Catholic school. My father got very sick, so I had to stop going to school. I had to work so my family and I had money for what we needed. After my father had died, I decided to become a Franciscan sister. My name was now Sister Mary Ann. I was also a teacher and I worked in a hospital. I went to work in Hawaii with the people that had leprosy. Leprosy is a very bad disease that can kill someone and it can spread easily. The people with leprosy had to be separated from others. They had to live in Hawaii with other lepers. Father Damien and I went to go help the lepers. I wasn't afraid to help the lepers. Unfortunately, Father Damien died from leprosy. A few years later, I died on August 9th, 1918. I did not die of leprosy. I died of natural causes. There are many miracles at my grave. I was canonized on October 21st, 2012. I was the first North American to be canonized. I was also the 11th saint. My feast day is January 23rd.
Hello, I'm St. Angela Marisi. I was born in Lake Garda, Italy on March 21st, 1470. My parents and my sister died when I was 10. My uncle adopted me from an orphanage when I was 10.
Then after living with my uncle for a few years, he died, so I had to go and live with my brothers. One night, I had a dream that I saw my sister in heaven with the angels. She was trying to tell me something that I couldn't understand. I joined the secular Franciscan order when I was 15. I received a vision telling me that I would lead other holy women to God. On November 25th, 1535, I led 28 young women, and we formed the Order of Ursulines. When I was 22, I gathered together 12 of my friends and began the first teaching order of women to be founded in the church, the Ursuline Order. When I was 23, I began to notice that the children of my town knew very little about their religion. I invited my friends to join me in teaching religion classes. My favorite saying is, "Disorder in society is the result of disorder in the family." When I was 56, I went on a trip to the Holy Land. On my way there, I had become blind and ill. I insisted on continuing my journey to the Holy Land with the devotion of my heart rather than my eyes. On the way back, I had recovered my eyesight. This was a reminder to me not to shut my eyes to the needs I saw around myself and not to shut my heart to God's call. I was beatified on April 30th, 1786 by Pope Clement VIII. I was canonized on May 24th, 1807 by Pope Pius VII. I died on January 27th, 1540. My feast day is January 27th. I am the patron saint of sickness, handicapped people, bodily ills, and physically challenged people.
My name is Saint Julie Billiard. I was born in Courville, France in 1751 on July 12th. I am the sixth of 7 children. My mother's name is Mary Louise Antonia, and my father's name is Jean-Francois Billiard. I always loved playing school. I wanted to become a teacher of my faith. When I was 7, I knew the whole catechism by heart. I received First Communion at the age of 9. My father owned a very small shop. One day, an unknown enemy shot my father trying to kill him. I was sitting in the same room as my father when that happened. No one was killed, but I was so terrified that the shot paralyzed me. I was only 22 years old. I became a teacher and taught children catechism from my bed. While I was paralyzed, I had a vision where I saw Calvary with women wearing religious habits surrounding it. Then I heard a voice which said, "Behold these spiritual daughters whom I give you in an institute marked by the cross." After the vision, I was able to walk. In 1803, I started a school with a woman named Francoise Blendy Burden. The name of the school is Notre Dame, which was also dedicated to the poor and young Christian girls. I inspired the Sisters of Notre Dame. The Sisters of Notre Dame opened many schools. In 1816, I died at the age of 64. I was beatified on May 13, 1906, by Pope Pius X. I was canonized in 1969. My feast day is April 8th. I am the patron saint of catechism.
Hello, my name is St. Teresa of Avalia, but you can call me St. Teresa of Jesus. That's my nickname. I was born in Avalia, Oak Castile, Spain. When I was a young girl, I read about the saints. I wanted to become a saint and die for Christ. When I was a teen, I was boy crazy. I loved to dress up and look pretty. I started to lose my passion for prayer when I started reading more love stories. One day, I read a fantastic book about the great Saint Jerome. After reading this, my love for Christ grew, and I decided to devote my love to him forever, and this became my life's motto. When I was about 20 years old, I became a sister at a Carmelite monastery. But those things seemed very different than they should. The nuns were gossiping more than praying. They spent their time partying and not acting like nuns. I also gossiped, partied, and had fun, but I didn't think it was right. One day, I saw a painting of Christ being scourged at the pillar. I was deeply moved. I meditated on the painting. From that day on, I received special graces and gifts of prayer and vision. After my experience with the painting, I decided to change how the Carmelites lived. The sisters who lived in the convents were very religious and spent most of their time praying and making sacrifices, which was much different than before. One day, the leader of the Carmelite friars
asked me if I can help reform the monks. I thought God was calling me to do it, so I gladly agreed. I am famous for opening many other Carmelite convents where sisters just like me lived. In 1970, the church gave St. Catherine of Siena and I the name Doctor of the Church. We were honored. My feast day is October 15th. I died October 15th, 1582, when I was only 67 years old. 30 years after my death, I was canonized March 12, 1622 by Pope Gregory XV.
Hello, I am St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. I was born in New York City on August 28, 1774, 2 years before the Declaration of Independence was signed. My father was a physician and professor. Although he didn't attend church, he taught me to love and to serve the poor. Both my mother and stepmother were Protestants who taught me the value of prayer and reading the scriptures. In 1794, at the age of 19, I married a wealthy businessman named William G. Seton. We had 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. A few years later, William's business went bankrupt and his health began to fail. The Felici family invited us to Italy so William could recuperate in a warm, sunny climate. The voyage was rough. Because of the yellow fever epidemic in New York before we left, the Italian government was afraid we might have it, so they kept us in an old army fort for 6 weeks. It was cold and damp, and it made William's house worse. I saw Christian actions and learned about the Catholic faith from the Felici family during William's bad health. I found myself beginning to believe in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. When I returned to New York, I decided to become a Catholic. My friends and family didn't understand this, so they turned against me. At the age of 30, I had no money, no family to help me, and my children and myself to feed. It was a scary time for me. To support my family and make sure my children got a proper education, I opened the first Catholic school in Boston and ran it like a religious community. A few years later, the Archbishop invited me to Baltimore to open an all-girls school. Once I got there, I began to live like a sister. As other women with the same ideals came to help, the school grew bigger. These women included my sister, my sister-in-law, and my own 2 daughters, Anna and Catherine. By 1812, we had become a religious community called the American Sisters of Charity. We continued to open many more Catholic schools and some orphanages. In addition to my charity work, I love to write. I translated a few textbooks from French to English, but my real passion was caring for the poor. I died on January 4th, 1821, in Emmitsburg, Maryland. My feast day is January 4th. I am the patron saint of Catholic schools, the state of Maryland, and the loss of parents. I was canonized on September 14th, 1975 by Pope Paul VI. God bless you.